Welcome back to the What Life, guys. So today is probably the biggest serving of humble pie that I have received in quite some time. We are going racing Cat B. This is the stage 4 of the Lap It Up series. So the last week, I've actually really enjoyed this month of the Z Racing series. I think it's all been kind of loop-based, lapped-based stuff. Tons of like little hills, punchy hills. And it culminates on this one, which is an absolute cracker of a course that I have never done before. And as such, it really served me up an absolute disaster of a race. This one went hard out the blocks. As I said, I made a ton of errors. Probably, first one I put my hands in the air is making a video saying I want to ride in Cat A, and then the next week diving in a Zwift Race in Cat B and getting dropped hard. So my hands are in the air. So you can call me an idiot in the comments if you want. Try and be classy about it. Maybe put a little apostrophe over the I. Do it a little French, a little Italian. Idiote, something like that. I don't mind it. Try and be constructive if you are going to call me an idiot, because I will give you the full reasons why I am struggling in a minute. Firstly, though, so I actually made a couple of disastrous decisions. The first disastrous decision was that I decided to downgrade my kit whilst riding, or before riding this race. So I chose the wheels that were being given away in the Great Big Spin thing. Apparently they just, their stats aren't great, but they look quite cool. I also downgraded from a Tron bike to some sort of Pinarello Dogma F9, I think, or something like that. So not talking like Zwift Carbon here, but I did downgrade some kit for the express purpose of just trying to see whether that made it a little bit harder. But turns out what does make it harder is kind of trying to build up and keep my training going for this 100-mile race that I have in 9 days' time. So, please, keep it constructive. My cycling at the moment is definitely the second tier activity on my kind of consciousness. But I am doing my best to try and keep with it, and it's probably why I haven't dived into a Cat A race just yet. Because before I did this race, I did a 16k run in the morning, and then I did this in the evening. And yesterday I did like 23, 24k. So I'm just training. I'm running anyway. This climb was absolutely savage. Look, the stats for the whole race is 190 meters of vert. Most of that vert, or all that vert, comes through this particular climb. This is actually a 4-minute climb, or thereabouts. I have some stats on it. If you go hard on this climb, and it did feel like we went quite hard, I averaged 362 watts for the 4 minutes that we go up this the first time, which actually felt, people are choosing violence at the front. The guys at the front are absolutely going hard, and they did not go the second time round it. They did not go this hard whatsoever. Just the pace at the front on our first time up this climb was intense, and it showed we have good numbers. So 140 odd riders for a Monday night, 6 p.m. British summertime, or 10 past 6. This is really good numbers, good crew. The guys at the front pushing hard, as you would expect. But the difference between this one and the next time we do this is phenomenal. Like the guys that chose to do and go as hard as they did the first time up this, they really went for it. 2 boosts, 2 power ups today. You got drafting boost and aero boost. They both come into play for me as I get my ass handed to me a little bit later in the race. But this first climb, like I said, it took me 3 minutes 59 from bottom to top the first time round, holding 362 watts. So you're looking at a 4-minute effort. Now, I don't think I got any kind of power PRs, but I definitely, at the end of the, when I end up eventually having to drop out, I did look at my power curve, which I think might be a 90-day power curve on Zwift. The power curve might be 90 days, and it basically said my 2.5-minute power effort on Zwift was one of my best that I've done in that last 90 days. I was like maybe a watt or 2 off my 2.5 minutes. So, despite the fact that I was feeling horrible, and the big thing that kind of I really struggled with was my calves were cramping like crazy, and yes, it sounds like a cop out, but doing a bunch of running, I think just like body was struggling to be up out the saddle for the climb for those long periods, and putting the pressure through them. I had a double calf cramp that, like, on the first time up, I was like, oh my god, this is hurting. And then the second time up, it was just like absolutely kind of like rock solid calf cramps, both sides. And it did not make it for a very fun experience, despite, you know, trying my best to like keep moving. So I'm going to give this another crack. I'm thinking this evening, and I know, you know, I am making some really dumb, probably training decisions, but at the same time, I just really enjoy it. So like everyone that kind of calls me an idiot and says, oh, like you should do this and you should do that, you know, we are only human after all. I do actually just enjoy taking part in these races, trying to hold on, trying to get better, and I'm not kind of, yeah, I just don't want to be afraid of diving in and failing, which is in part why I'm throwing this video out there. I will also, kind of just to keep you fully updated, I thought I'd do an FTP test, and I haven't done one in about 6 months, so I did one on Friday. Look, again, I'm just going to fill you in. I did Manchester Marathon weekend before the one that's just been, and then it was London Marathon this weekend. I did not run London Marathon, but I did Manchester Marathon, and did an FTP test on Friday. So, you know, there's a 5-day difference. I did a little bit of running and cycling in between to try and keep myself going. I have a 100-miler in 9 days' time. The kind of agenda is quite busy, but mostly it's volume. So it's just the volume that's like wearing down the legs. So I think some of the sharpness is missing. But saying that, I did my Quarry Wood climb video, which was a 3-minute climb that's local to me, and I set a new record. I think I beat my old time by about 12 seconds. So I do feel like, you know, I am like concurrently improving my running and my cycling at the same time, but I do know that if I focused on one and not the other, then I would improve better. I'd improve more. Second time up this climb. Now, first time we held 362 watts. This time we hold, well, I hold 328 watts. Obviously, you know, I don't do this climb as well, but you can already see that on my power chart on the bottom of the screen that the power difference, and you can just see on the left hand side of the screen, that was the last climb as it just moves off, and you can see the power that's going into this climb. So there is a huge difference between, you know, last time we went up this, the guys at the front just like literally put their heads down and disappeared, which does start to happen a bit, but obviously this one just was not hit as aggressively, didn't go as hard. But I will also, you know, this is the point where I am struggling like crazy. I'm going to have to just swap my bike back out and dive back on the Tron bike, give myself a better chance of surviving. I use the Tron bike as a, you know, I haven't actually decided. It probably might not be the best bike to use for this course. I'm sure you guys will let me know what probably is the best bike and wheel combination. I would imagine something that is a little bit lighter, because most of this race is this climb. Once you've done the climb, it was so easy. You can obviously see on the power chart on the bottom, we just bowl around the other side. So I did start talking about it, but I did an FTP test on Friday last week, about 4 days ago, and basically I lost a bit. So I think I'm trying to jam too much in, trying to ask a bit too much in terms of like power and consistency, when at the moment I'm, you know, focusing a little bit on the volume of running, trying to build that up after kind of having a disastrous build up for Manchester Marathon. Just haven't, you know, I've been trying to balance both and doing neither well, I think is the net result of what's been going on in my world. But it doesn't mean that I'm not kind of making little improvements, but I think if I focused on one and didn't do the other, yes, I would ultimately get more out. But at the moment, I am just struggling to kind of keep both going. And if I focus on my running, then my cycling drops a little bit. If I focus on my cycling, then my running has suffered. And that's what's happened, is that I've been enjoying the racing. I've been enjoying doing like getting actually out and riding the bike outside. And I haven't been putting the miles in for this 100-miler. So I've kind of been panicking a little bit about that. This is me done and dusted now, guys. This is why I need to give this another shot. I just like my second time up, I fall off the group. And I know what you might be thinking, oh, well, you should finish it off. It's a race after all. I would have if it was just a fatigue thing. If it was just the fact that I was struggling, finding it hard, wasn't fit enough, that would be fine. But the fact that my calves were just cramping like non-stop, I could hardly kind of turn the change. So I decided that, you know, probably best just to jump off and give it another shot another time. That's me, guys. Humble pie on a Monday night. Thanks for joining in.